Coming up, what an excellent day for placebos. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 71 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate the Exorcist, minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with Dr. Berenger continuing his last line, "It's purely a force of suggestion."
And it ends with Detective Kinderman walking around at the bottom of those famous steps.
Yeah, what's he doing down there? We'll have to do some investigating of our own. But for now, let's get back to the top of this minute. We're back at Berenger Clinic.
And Foundation.
Thank you, Keenan. We're back in there. And is it me or is this doc, Dr. Berenger, is he getting more and more bubbly as he is describing what exorcism is to Chris? Like, he started out kind of embarrassed. As much as he said the Catholics keep it in the closet as an embarrassment, he was kind of feeling the same way, it seemed to me. But something has happened in the transition from the last minute to this one. His eyes have lit up. He's smiling. He's warming up to this idea in front of our eyes. Keenan, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way you say it reminds me of the entomologist. The bug doctor is an entomologist.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. The entomologist in The Silence of the Lambs who is flirting with Clarice once she asks him questions about moths.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, this woman is coming on to me, right? Because no woman has ever been interested in anything I'm interested in. Yeah.
No woman plays video games.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's like, oh, now that she's open to the idea of listening to me about exorcism, yes, I can let my freak flag fly. And
right. He's showing his peacock feathers right now. This is what the kids would call a flex. Right?
Right. I'm not saying Dr. Berenger is flirting at all, but yeah, if you haven't seen The Sides of the Lamb, that's one of my favorite parts of it. Clarice figuring out that he likes me, and so I'm gonna parrot that back to him and be like, oh, yes, this is very interesting.
Yeah, very clever, Miss Starling. Very clever.
Fly.
Fly. and make no mistake, folks, I don't think Berenger is suddenly lighting up because he's thinking that there's still hope for Reagan. Mm-hmm. I think it's purely academic. I think this is his nerd brain nerding out. I think he's latched on to this fascinating branch of unexplored medical science, and he's just running with it. And he's probably not even aware what his face looks like in this moment. But what he's saying is the victim's belief in possession is what caused it. So in the same way, the belief in the power of exorcism can make it disappear. Right. So that's what he's saying.
Makes sense to me. Sounds pretty logically sound. It's a syllogism or something.
Yep. Now, I just want to pause here and say, Dr. Berenger aside, his bedside table side manner aside, this is really fascinating. Keenan, we were talking before about the placebo effect, right? Which is a really fascinating thing, how certain cures and also certain ailments affect you simply because you believe they do. They'll use placebos in clinical trials to see if they produce the same results as the actual medicine they're testing. So it'll be like a fake pill, a fake injection, sometimes even a fake surgery. I'm reading, which I guess means they put you under and then they just do nothing, and then you wake up and they're like, well, we did the thing. It was a success, right? We took out the thing.
So they don't actually cut into you, because that would not be okay, I would guess.
Right. They just, I don't know, they play cards for a while.
But did they just say and we sewed it up really, really well?
We sewed it up so well that you can't even see where we cut into you, right? And you just walk out of there, and sometimes it works. Which is so bonkers. And again, it just goes back to what I was saying before about how our brains, there's still so much we don't understand about how the brain works and what it can do.
Right.
It seems as though there's not enough X-rays or helium or pantopic dye in the world for us to figure out what goes on in there and why certain treatments work sometimes and why or how people are able to do things. It really is fascinating. Now, if I recall, around this time in the book, one of the doctors, I believe it's Dr. Klein, is actually giving this whole speech, and actually she's not even there. Chris isn't even there. She's remembering this speech as something else is happening, and we're going to get into that in a second. But there's a little more to this speech. Chris recalls the doc telling an anecdote. So it starts out, he's describing what we just heard, and he says, and in just the same way, the belief in the power of the exorcism can make it disappear. It's, you're frowning. Well, perhaps I should tell you about the Australian Aborigines. They're convinced that if some wizard thinks a death ray at them from a distance, why, they're definitely going to die, you see. And the fact is that they do. They just lie down and slowly die. And the only thing that saves them at times is a similar form of suggestion, a counteracting ray by another wizard. Just a little side. I do like that little addition where he stops mansplaining and he's like, you're frowning. Well, let me try something else. But so this anecdote about death rays always made me think of a thing that Ian, our good friend Ian Hinden, told me about these guys called the bone pointers. And I looked it up. It's actually these guys.
Oh, okay, great.
So the doctor is talking about these guys. They are known within Australian Aboriginal tribes as the, I'm going to try to say this right, the Kurdaicha or Kurdaicha. It's Kurdaicha. And according to my research, they appear to be like hired executioner priests. So someone commits a crime, and you get a Kurdaicha to go after them, and they get their name, Kurdaicha or Kurdaicha, after the shoes that they wear, which are made out of feathers.
That's great.
So they're sometimes called feather feet also.
That's the kind of thing, like that's one of those. We were on the Marvel Movie Minute talking about superpowers like we might want, or like the highest polling superpowers, which what was it? What was the number one? Invisibility? I
think, number one was invisibility.
Yeah. And we were all like, well, I don't know. That's kind of outdated in the Me Too movement days, right? Because of all you do with it. Yeah, but to have little feathers on your feet that make you fly, that's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah.
Flying in that way. Yeah, that'd be great.
And actually, so these shoes were actually so sacred that it was forbidden by all but the adult men of the tribe to even look at them. But today they make them and they sell them to foreigners. I guess much like Romania and Salem are sort of like making money off of their dark history. Right. Human beings, folks, we figure out a way. All of us, everybody around the world.
Capital finds a way.
Yes, capitalism. The main villain of The Exorcist is capitalism. The main villain of the Kurdaicha is capitalism.
The more and more I've been thinking about it, I mean, the main villain of The Exorcist might be the patriarchy, which is very interesting. But we haven't put it out in those terms before. But but then it is like these father priests and male detectives who come in and ostensibly save the day. But yes, it might be maleness that is the villain, which I hadn't really thought about till we started looking at the movie bit by bit. Right. This sounds like a joke, folks, but no, I really mean it.
Yes. Because I mean, look at all the doctors that she has to deal with, right? Like all of these chuckleheads, right?
Right.
But yeah, so back to these Kurdaicha, right? So these priests would hunt a guy down, and they would corner them, and then just point this ceremonial carved bone at them, right? Sometimes it's a human bone, sometimes it's a kangaroo bone or an emu bone, sometimes it's just wood, right? So that's interesting. It's like that part of it doesn't matter as much as the belief, right? But yeah, it has a 100% fatality rate within the community.
Wow.
The belief is so strong that the victim will just like lay down and give up, right? They'll refuse food, water, and they'll just waste away. Again, folks, like the power of the human brain, I'm telling you, like believing so strongly in something, a communally accepted ritual, even if it hurts you, even if it kills you, right? And there's no magic. It's just your brain. I really, really love that. Well, no, I don't love that. I don't love a person dying because of that.
No, but
it's
yeah,
fascinating.
We've talked about this a little bit, or did we? Oh, geez, I can't remember. We were just talking recently about how, like, why can't these hosts remember what they said on their own show? Well, we talked
because
about
this is what episode 71?
Yeah. But like the idea that in media there were depictions of women fainting, right, in novels and plays, and then eventually movies and TV, and it seems to be true. Like women did used to faint at conflict, right, like emotional conflict. They, like, I just can't even deal with this, and they would faint, and that does seem to be borne out. Like that's not a creation. I mean, it is a creation of the media. Like that's just something that we socially agreed upon, that women would faint rather than have to deal with conflict, and then that was happening, and then as we had less instances of that in media, we don't have that as happening as much. We don't really necessarily see it as gendered anymore, right? Like, we don't think that, oh, be careful, if you give her bad news, she might pass out on you.
Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those like chicken or egg things, right? It's like did we start? Did some lazy author not know how to end a chapter? And just have the person faint. By the way, actually, folks, just to kind of like counterpoint that, right? Like all of you probably know, I'm a big fan of like the gothic horror genre in books and everything, right? And I mean, gosh, just off the top of my head, like every chapter in Dracula, every chapter in Frankenstein, every chapter in an Edgar Allan Poe, or like every like part of an Edgar Allan Poe story, like when they want to make a transition from one scene to the next, right? They usually end with, or even Charles Dickens, every time a new ghost appears, right? Or leaves Scrooge, like he just faints dead away, right? And then he wakes up, and that's the new chapter, right? Yeah. So fainting, folks. Yeah. Have you ever fainted?
Never. I've never fainted.
Okay. I can't remember. I think I might have at one point. I was punched in the stomach.
Oh, jeez.
Really, really hard. And then something happened. But like it was like blinking. Like I was like I blinked, and then I was like, it was like time had jumped.
Oh my God.
And then in my mind, I was like, did I just faint? Right. Yeah. So.
And what, the person who punched you didn't fill you in on what had happened?
No, they just
jerk.
Like. They looked at me like, oh shit. So their eyes widened. So I was like, oh, I probably just passed out. Yeah. But folks, back to the power of the human brain. Some of my more witchy friends have actually told me that that's the big secret of magic, is that it isn't magic at all. They're like, don't tell the normies, but we've been doing like positive thinking and daily affirmations and visualizing your goals and mindful meditation and wellness, whatever the fuck that is. Those are my friends' words, not mine, if you practice wellness. But she's like, we used to call that magic, and they would burn us at the stake. And now some purple-haired hippie opens a fake culturally appropriated yoga studio where they teach you how to breathe and visualize your best life, or some Tony Robbins guy sells a bunch of CDs that teach you how to say, yes, I can, in front of the mirror in the morning. And that's all that magic ever was, but they ruined it. She was really mad. But that fascinated me because I teach wellness now. And it's one of the classes that we offer at my school. And I will say, the presentation of it sometimes seems a little bit like hippy-dippy. But if you look at it from the science end, and how outside stimuli can affect your thoughts, and then your thoughts can affect how you go about getting the things you want or the things you don't want, like these little micro decisions that you're not aware of that you're making, or even the other way, like how you can unintentionally trap yourself in negative thought patterns that lead to self-destructive actions, right, on a small scale, but those add up eventually.
Yeah, I think everyone is a lot of people are really aware of that, right? Like a shame spiral or what have you. But the same people don't necessarily believe in the opposite, right? Like
right.
Whatever that is, hyping yourself up in small ways and getting better. Yeah. Which I'm one of those people. I have trouble believing this kind of thing. The positive aspect. Oh yeah, the positive aspects of it. I'm like, no, even though I'm totally aware of the negative aspects of it.
Interesting. But so, again, folks, don't tell the normies, but apparently that's all that witchcraft and magic. Well, I don't want to speak for the specific type, but according to my friend, that's all that her magic is, right? It's not Harry Potter. It's not double toil and trouble. It's looking in the mirror and saying, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, right? So Christians out there, you're probably doing some magic yourselves and you don't even know it. Do you practice positive self-talk? Do you look in the mirror before a job interview and be like, I'm going to get that job? because according to my friend, that's a spell, and that's all spells are. Okay, in my wellness class, we make vision boards. You heard of these?
Yeah, again, I've never done one because I'm such a cynic with positive thinking. So I've never done a vision board.
Yeah. Folks at home, a vision board is basically like a collage of all of the stuff that you want in your life, right? Like we used to like cut out pictures from a magazine. Now you just print them out on the internet, right? Now you probably don't even print them out. You just like have a digital visual board, like as your screensaver or your background wallpaper or whatever, right? And you have stuff up there like your dream home, your dream car, your dream job, your dream partner.
That might be Dr. Klein's. Like he doesn't have those cars in real life. He just has the dream car,
just the little toy cars.
That might be his vision board.
He's like, one day I'm gonna, yeah. Oh, I see, Dr. Klein, what you're doing. But yeah, so like, or you choose pics of like celebrities with the traits that you like, right? Or your dream body or your dream lifestyle, right? You choose a bunch of like models or famous people that you want to model yourself after, right? And you put it all on paper, right? Some creative, artistic collage, and then you hang it where you will see it every day, like above your desk or in the bathroom or in the kitchen, on the fridge or wherever, right? And if you look at it every day, your brain, according to the people who endorse vision boards, your brain will start to blur the lines between reality and fantasy, and it will think, because folks, our brains are stupid and we can trick them. It will begin to think that stuff in the picture is possible for you, and you'll start making these tiny little micro decisions that lead you to those things. Like if you got a picture of your ideal body, right? This healthy, attractive, muscular body, nice six pack and all that, right? As part of that vision board, and you put that on your fridge, and then you go downstairs at 10 p.m., right? And you get a snack, and you see that. And instead of microwaving the pizza, you're going to get like a protein shake and some cottage cheese, and then you're going to go back to bed. Depending on, I don't know. Like, it might work for you, it might not.
That sounds awful.
But yeah, my friend would say that's magic. You did a spell on yourself, and it worked. Right. Similarly, you can curse yourself with negative self-talk, right? You can call yourself stupid or worthless or unlovable, right? Again, our brains can be tricked, right? And a lot of times we are the ones doing it. We're tricking ourselves. We're cursing ourselves, quote unquote, right? Or our parents are doing that. I'm constantly encountering students who, like, they'll make a mistake, with a math problem or something like that, right? And they'll be like, "Oh, I'm so stupid," or "Oh, Mr. Lester, I didn't do my homework. It's because I'm so lazy, or it's because I don't have good executive functioning skills." And suddenly their vocabulary is completely different from like how they normally talk. And I'm like, who's been like saying these things to you? Because you're repeating something that somebody else said to you. But they've internalized it, and you internalize it, and then you believe it, and then you do it, right? Because that's apparently, according to the universe, that's how you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be lazy. You're supposed to be not good at math or whatever.
That's just the way you are. You're essentially like that.
Yeah. Right. And especially if somebody who is in a position of authority, or somebody, or as a family member or something like that, somebody that you trust is saying that to you, well, then of course it must be true, right?
Right.
So yeah. So why are you acting any other way? You got to act like that, right? So yeah. But yeah. So that's actually why. Okay. So bringing it back to the bone pointers here, right? So cursing doesn't work the way that the normies think it does, right? According to my friend, the reason that witches don't go around cursing people is because, well, one, because it's mean. It's a shitty thing to do. It's the same way we don't go around like punching people. Don't do that. But two, because it actually doesn't work, right? Because it's purely one-sided, right? Like, you can curse yourself, you can bless yourself, but you can't point at someone and be like, you're gonna have a bad day. Like no matter how deeply you believe, they're going to look at you like, what are you doing? This is a Starbucks. Same thing with like love spells. So Raymond Buckland, I think we might have mentioned him on here before. He was the author of the Complete Book of Witchcraft,
right?
And actually the founder of the first American coven. I believe. He learned from John Gardner was like his teacher. I'll have to go back and check. But so he talks about how love potions and love spells, those are a thing. But Hollywood has messed it all up, right? You're supposed to do a love spell on yourself to make yourself feel more attractive and more confident. And again, the next morning you might wear your hair differently, or you might have a piece of fruit for breakfast, or go jogging, or whatever.
Or just feel more confident.
Yeah, just feel more confident, and hopefully the object of your affection notices you, and boom, now you're going on a date. But same thing, like if they didn't notice you and you do a spell on them, they're just going to keep not noticing you.
Right.
They might even think you're a little weird. Like they'll just catch you staring at them, right? Focusing real hard, or they find a little shrine that you made of that. It's like, don't do that. It won't work, and you'll look really weird.
But like, say like, maybe some folk magic that we might be aware of is, say, like in the European evil eye, right?
Right.
Like, oh, that lady gave me the evil eye. And it's not really the lady gives you, it's that the person who has, quote unquote, received the evil eye is thinking that they have been cursed.
Exactly. Right. And so that goes on to the next thing. The only way that this would work is if you lived in a community, usually like a small community, like where everybody is on the same page. They all believe the exact same thing.
Right.
But so anyway, like all of that to say, the brain is a weird, amazing thing that can do weird, amazing things. And so what this doc is saying right here is actually completely valid. There is an alternate version of this story where Regan just believes she's possessed by a demon. And so if she believes in demons, she believes in exorcisms. So a fake exorcism would then work to get rid of the fake demon, right? Like that's what you call the placebo effect on a biblical scale. That
would be a really interesting, I don't know, not a sequel to The Exorcist or something, but like a great thought experiment if you had $10 or $20 million to do this thought experiment and make a movie that is about that. That's a very interesting movie unto itself. Yeah, the girl who thinks she's possessed.
Yeah. But actually, folks, thank you for indulging my little tangent there, because I was leading up to what I believe is the main crux of this story. Is it real or not? Is it a demon or just a sick little girl? Right. And folks, before we go any further, I just want to assure you, I think both of us believe that in the story of The Exorcist, it's a demon.
Absolutely.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I think the language of the film has told us pretty clearly that Captain Howdy is real, but the characters don't know that. And that's where Captain Howdy is having the most fun, right? All the back and forth with Karis, all the little mind games he plays on Chris, everything he does up until the final act is designed to make us doubt. Right? Howdy makes sure that the characters are always presented with a logical explanation for everything, right? He'll sometimes even coax them into that direction, right? Like we're actually seeing here. So I was saving this. So this scene in the doctor's office doesn't actually play out in the book. It's a memory that Chris is having during another scene, a rather famous scene, the scene where she finds the crucifix in Regan's bedroom. And now it makes a whole lot of sense why she would be so angry about that, because the doctors basically said, keep your daughter away from anything that would feed into her psychosis.
Right.
In addition to that, this is a little later in the scene, she's still remembering the talk that she had with the doctors. The one that we just saw. And now she remembers a book that Mary Jo Perrin gave her. Listeners will remember Mary Jo, right? The self-styled Catholic spiritualist who warned Chris about Ouija boards, right? So remember also, this was at the party where Mary Jo reached out to Regan and drew back because she felt something, right? So then one day, a little later, Chris gets this book in the mail with a letter that says, "Dear Chris, I happened by the Georgetown University Library and picked this up for you. It has some chapters about Black Mass. You should read it all, however. I think you'll find the other sections particularly interesting. See you soon, Mary Jo." So we remember, right, Chris was like bugging everybody about Black Mass. Oh, they do Black Mass. Like, tell me about Black Mass. And so this was kind of like Mary Jo's in. It's like, oh yeah, this book has a chapter about Black Mass and also another chapter that you really need to read. So Mary Jo is trying to warn Chris that something's not right with Regan. And so now, as Chris is remembering the hospital conversation, the one that we're talking about right now, she's also hunting for this book because it had turned up missing before she could read it So now she finds it downstairs, opens it, and sure enough, there's a whole chapter all about demonic possession. It has all the signs, all the symptoms, and it's like everything. It's almost as if Reagan read that book and is doing all of the things in the book.
Oh, geez, right? Yeah. Uh-huh.
So she asks Willie where she found the book, and Willie says, in Miss Reagan's room. Now, Chris turns the page again, and she sees that one of the pages has like this thin strip missing from the edge, and readers will know what that means. I can't remember if we mentioned it on the show. Actually, no, I don't think we did, and I'm really bummed about that. Folks, this was a habit of Burke's. He used to chew on paper. He would like tear off little strips of the scripts that he was working on or books that he was reading. So that book was in the room when Reagan killed him. So yeah, all by design, bringing the book up here just to mess with Chris and making sure everything Reagan does is specifically mentioned in the book, just to keep Chris in doubt.
So you think, so your interpretation of that is that Pazuzu has read the book as well and is like, I'm going to keep it, what I'm going to do with this little girl within the bounds of that.
I think so. I don't know. Well, now you put an image in my head, Keenan, where the demon is just like in Reagan's body, just sitting at her homework desk with a little highlighter, and just like working late at night. It's like, okay, speaking in tongues. I've never done this levitating thing, but like it's in the book. I got to do like those little montages where he's just like flipping through the book and everything.
Yeah, like Rocky.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like he's not very good at levitating at first because that's not something they do in Mesopotamia. So he's like, okay. Every little bit you get a little bit stronger. Montage.
But yeah, no, exactly that. No, I do think that that our demon, our Captain Howdy, our Pazuzu is specifically sticking to the book because there's no way to be sure. There's absolutely no way to be sure. Like it could just be Reagan's psychosis. Right?
So that's interesting because that does not occur to me in the film, because then when she finds the crucifix there, it doesn't I don't make the connection to this scene at all. I think it's sort of a new thread that she's mad at Carl for introducing this new thing.
Right. And that always, when I would watch the movie before reading the book, that always kind of confused me. I was like, why is she so angry about this? Right. Like, at the very least, like someone is just trying to help. Right.
Right. So I always read it as that she's upset because she's not a religious person, and so like you're trying that you're trying to take over and basically raise my child, right?
Right. Which is like that's a valid reason to be angry, right? But yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about that crucifix scene when we get to it. Not that. Let me be clear. The scene where she finds the crucifix, because there's a lot of discussion online about who left the crucifix in her room. Apparently, that's a big famous question amongst the fans. I have my theory, and I'm excited to get to it.
Cool. Is there a term for Exorcist fans? Like like the Grateful Dead have the Deadheads? Are they like?
Oh yeah.
X heads X.
Well, if there's anybody to coin one, it would be us, right?
Oh God, that's so much pressure.
That's a lot of responsibility for just two chuckleheads. X's. Well, I mean, heads, because we got the head spinning thing, and that's so perfect.
Pretty good, yeah.
Oh man, spinning heads, talking heads.
The BTS has the army, right? Their army.
Oh right, yeah. You got Potter heads for Harry Potter.
Oh, well, there you go. Right. Maybe we're Howdy heads.
Howdy heads. All right. Pazuzu pals.
I like that. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Pazuzu pals.
Yeah. Or just Catholics.
Wouldn't you know it, Catholics?
Wouldn't you know it? That's a sequel to Wouldn't You Know It, Demon. All right. Yeah. Folks, I'm a Catholic. I just want to make that clear. That's actually no. You know what? I gotta redact that, because that's such an asshole thing to say. Like when you make an offensive joke and then you're just like, it's okay, I can say it because I'm whatever.
Right.
It's like no, don't do that. Just don't say the joke.
Right.
But yeah,
I forget
as I say the joke.
I forget what comedian said. He told a joke about disabled people or something, and he goes, "No, it's okay. I can make fun of disabled people." Anyways.
Jesus. Oh, that's terrible.
Right, but making fun of that trope, right? Of
right, yeah.
Of like, oh, it's okay, I could do this because my wife is something, or my
right, yeah. Oh my God. Yes. My wife is a Mesopotamian demon. My husband is a Catholic. Wait, no, that doesn't work.
No. My mother is a doctor, and she refuses to operate on me.
Nobody even knows she's a woman. I don't know how that works. She comes into work every day, and
nobody knows.
But yeah, okay. Well, speaking of doctors, we're back to our clinic, right?
And foundation.
And Chris says, "You're telling me that I should take my daughter to a witch doctor. Is that it?" And the defeat in her eyes and in her voice, the realization that these guys got nothing, that they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, right? You can see that realization, and that's just got to be soul crushing, right? Again, 88 doctors, and they came up with nothing, Keenan. Like, we joke about it, but in this scene, they literally told her thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, it's a really interesting shot of her. The background is completely blurred out. It's really a narrow depth of field on her, and it's just a really interesting shot because, it's not necessarily, it's certainly not overplayed, right, by Ellen Burstyn, right? She's underplaying it, but yeah, it just holds on her in this very long and it's a rather unusual shot for the movie. There's not quite a lot like this, it's again, not something I would have noticed unless we're looking at it shot by shot, second by second.
Right. And to that point, like Keenan, you say underplaying it, right? But folks, by underplaying it, she is screaming volumes, right?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, and this Doc Berenger cannot answer her, can't even look her in the eye. At least we cut away before he does, right? Now we cut from there, and we are in the car driving home. More Penderecki music, I think, playing, right? This one's called Cello Concerto. It actually started playing in the previous shot, but now it is fully manifested, right? This low thrum, a note of alarm, of dread, a hint that things are going to get bad, right? We got Chris in the back seat. She's got her signature scarf and sunglasses, right? We see Sharon in there with her up front, and Carl is driving. Now, I think Chris is in the back because she's holding on to Reagan. We don't see it in this shot, though. But
looks like a funeral.
Yeah,
like the two ladies there, and they look like they're in their mourning clothes.
Which, I mean, it kind of is, though, isn't it? Right? Because like the docs basically said, "Hey, we're done. We got nothing. How about try this? This crazy placebo thing." And then if that doesn't work,
don't tell the foundation what the clinic just said.
Yeah.
Right. We're telling you, get out of here. Go see somebody else.
Yeah. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And also, please don't let the foundation know. Yeah. But yeah, Keenan, we talked about this before. Is there any indication in the movie that once they run out of ideas, they're gonna take Reagan away, or are they just gonna leave Chris alone?
Like take Reagan and put her in that van upstate, right?
Right. Yeah, and put her in an asylum or something like, because they were hinting at like I don't care what you call it, I'm not having her put away, right?
Right.
That in that big board meeting, and that kind of suggested to me, like that scared me when we talked about it last. I was like, oh my God, does this mean that like it's not even a case of like we can't help you, so goodbye. It's like we can't help you, and we're forcibly taking your daughter.
Right. That makes sense. So this is the last. So do this, what you call a witch doctor thing, or don't. But, if you don't, if you don't cure yourself, then yeah, we're going to call the authorities and have her taken to the asylum.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that sounds right, though. Yeah. With the logic that you're pointing out, I think that's exactly what's going on. I
didn't even think about that until this viewing, that like there is so much more at stake now. Than just like we got nothing, and then she goes to the priest. Like she's going to the priest, not just like save my daughter from a demon, save my daughter from these doctors now because they're going to take her away. Oh my God!
Right, because it's not like the doctors. Well, so now your daughter's just a demon, and you're gonna live with her and take her to school and and feed her ice cream and stuff like normal, right?
Yeah,
like Shaun of the Dead or something. Like no, like this is gonna be. You can't live like that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, we wouldn't allow you to raise your daughter like that.
Right. She's a danger to herself and to others, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Oh God, yeah. Like, that just gives me the icks. Oh. So we pull up on our house. Again, you're right. The orange, the autumn leaves are so good for this movie, right? In the book, it's like April or May, but this just gives us like a nice spooky feel, right? Even that gate, it's just looking nice and gothic there, like an Addams Family home or something like that, right? But at the same time, you got like a hose in the bottom right corner, right? You got people walking across the street. It's this perfect mix of like spooky fantasy and realism, which I guess like is sort of the appeal of this whole movie, right? The idea that horror has come home, right? Not to the Addams Family home, to your home.
Right. I want to point out something that I think, if I'm understanding what I was reading recently. So this door that Willie is in here, that's sort of this front entrance, like that is the real that's the real house that exists, and then they have added on a fake wing to the house exterior because they needed to make it plausible that you could fall or be pushed from the window to the stairs. But that in real life, in this real house, I believe that this side yard that they're turning into this driveway here does go all the way to the back of the house.
Okay, yeah.
Because when you look at Google Maps, like the house is rectangular. It doesn't have an L-shaped sort of driveway alcove thing.
Interesting. Okay.
Right.
Huh. Yeah, and we're gonna see another exterior shot of the famous window in a little bit, and yeah, I remember I was like, that seems kind of far away from the stairs, right? Like if that's the thing, and I think you had pointed this out in an earlier minute as well, that they would have to be like pushed, they would have to be like ejected from the window to get to those stairs, right?
Yeah, in real life, right? So they tried to make it look a little bit closer.
Yeah. So, but we'll get to that. I'm excited to talk about that. But for here, yeah. So, Carl pulls up in past the gate, and we see that yes, Willie is there waiting for them. Another cut, and everyone gets out of the car, and it's go time. It's like this mad rush to get inside, right? Like it's not, oh, Miss Reagan, welcome home from the hospital. It's like get her inside, draw a bath, make some tea, get her under the covers, right? Super like go, right? Sharon runs in first, probably to get everything ready, and we get this really tender moment here where Chris, she was holding Reagan. There we go. Yeah. Hands Reagan over to Carl, and this big, strong man is gently, cradling her, carrying her into the house with this almost fatherly look of compassion and pity and concern. Right? It's so touching. It really hit me this time around. And again, folks, like make note. Like I was saying before about the quietness of good in this movie, right? That was a really quick shot, and we could have missed it. But I'm telling you, take note, right? Especially with Carl. Actually, talking about that scene where Chris finds the crucifix. There's another scene in the book right after that that's not in the movie, but I can't wait to talk about that in that minute. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, Reagan is so bundled up that at first I didn't really understand what Chris was handing to Carl. Yeah, eventually I'm like, oh, it's her, and she's so fragile, and she's so like, she's like a bundle. She's like a sack of grain or something.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I'm thinking about this for the first time now, but like, is this some kind of like liminal midway transitional point where like we open the story with this plucky young girl, and she's very much like a person with a personality, and she is a character and everything like that. And then we're going to end it with this spitting, shouting demon. But like in the middle, it's almost like she's like in this, she's like a fragile prop.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to be a movie making asshole for a second, but maybe she's so bundled up because it's not Linda Blair.
Oh. I mean, that would be easy, right? Like,
right, because there are limits to how much time you could spend filming a child.
Right. That's a technical thing. It's like, because they got to rest,
Yeah.
They got to go to school, or they
have to go to school, right? I don't know what the child labor laws were in the 70s. I think so. I know more about them in the 40s and then a little bit more today. But like, you would have to educate the kids and have an on-set teacher and that kind of thing. And there'd be rules to how long they could have it. And someone introduced me to this term before about like, whatever the hour is that kids have to get off set, they call it pumpkining. like Cinderella.
Oh, you're gonna turn into a
So like, so the kids' pumpkin at 7. We have to get them out of set by 7. It's so cute. 7. Yeah, I really love that. I don't know if it's widespread, but I heard that once from one production manager, and it was like, oh, that's so cute. But yeah, this might not actually be Linda Blair here because it's like, well, she doesn't have lines. You don't need to see her face. So yeah. Get Eileen Dietz in there or somebody and bundle her up real tight, right?
Yeah, that makes total sense, right? Yeah. Now, they make their way inside, and from there we cut, and we're still outside. In fact, we're not very far away. We're now with Kinderman, and we see he's walking around the bottom of those famous steps. What's he doing there? We'll have to wait until the next minute to find out. Until then, that is all my notes. Keenan, you got anything else?
No, I think we got it.
All right, folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz, and you can find me on Letterboxd and Instagram as Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, we got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out on Facebook. Request to join. We'll let you in here with us. And yes, again, thank you guys so much to everybody who's shared the show, word of mouth, or just like on the socials. And a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to the show. We really, really appreciate it. That's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. Okay, Keenan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of Pazuzu Pals compels you. And foundation, right? Behringer Clinic and foundation, right? What does that even mean? I wrote that joke because that's what it says on the sign.
Absolutely.
Without even knowing what it means. Right. Okay. Well, I guess we just won't answer that.
I don't know. Do you want to get into the nonprofit world, and I could describe it to you. I know what it means.
Okay. Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a trap we want to fall into?
I don't know if we want to get into the nonprofit
folks,
trap.
Yeah, right into the exorcistminute at gmail.com. Keenan will tell you all about why we call it Behringer Clinic and Foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
So the foundation, the foundation is the charity. It's the money raising arm of the clinic. The clinic is not necessarily. So what they have decided to do in this situation when there's a foundation is to have the clinic be the recipient of charity money without raising the charity money. And the foundation is the one who raises the money. And then most of the time they give the money as a donation to the clinic. So for whatever legal, this is beyond my scope, but for whatever legal reason or tax reason, the clinic isn't going out and raising money. They're just receiving the money from the Behringer Foundation. Even if the Behringer Foundation and the Behringer Clinic are clearly related, they have the same name, but there's a board for the foundation who decides what to do with the charity money. And then almost always they give the money to the clinic.
Interesting.
Is it? Don't patronize me.
That's what the foundation is for. They're the patrons. Listeners, that's your responsibility to answer that. Write in theexorcistminute at gmail.com. Tell us if that was interesting. The power of Christ and foundation compels you.